Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. And I've got a very exciting interview with Sabi Leone, who's going to be joining me, a pro tennis player, and we're going to be talking a little bit about her journey so far on the tour and also some interesting bits because Sabi's also part of the ITF player panel, and there's a couple of other interesting anecdotes as well we can get into. First of all, Sabi, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. This is very exciting. So,
No worries at all. Thank you for being on. I know you just come off like a really long meeting as well, we were saying with the ITF. So, yeah, appreciate you taking your time off and joining us as well. You mentioned actually you just been on a tournament in Canada, sorry, which was a 25K. So I guess we can probably just start off there and just say like how was it? And could you give like an idea to people watching and listening, like how do these tournaments go about? Because I think a lot of people obviously have exposure to, like the big kind of WTA and ATP tournaments and how they're run, etc. But for someone like yourself, like what does a week or a few days there look like?
yeah, definitely. So, this tournament it was in Saskatoon, so it's in the middle of Canada. So I've never been there. A lot of people actually have never been there. Many Canadians haven't been there because there isn't much. But the beauty with the tour is that you go to these places where, it's like they put in these random like spots. But it's great because you learn so much and like you learn so much about the country and like the culture because you can't compare that to like a Toronto or a Vancouver or whatever it is. So basically what I did was, travel a couple days before for preparation because there's a little bit of altitude. The courts are quick because they're hard court. The balls, you got to adjust to that as well. There's some players that are coming from Belgium and some from Latvia. And so it's crazy because they have to come a little bit earlier because of the time change. And so, we take a couple days to prepare. And then the day of, it's like, of the competition, it's like you're ready to go. You don't know who you've seen them in the club, and you're like, okay, well, let's suss it out. Let's check them out, And so you do your best. Obviously, some people do bring coaches, but at this level, a lot of the players travel alone. In my case, I went with a friend, so that was very nice. Being alone is it's not for everybody because it's like everyone's kind of in a team, and then you're here like trying to figure out everything. But this tournament was a little bit different because the organization, I wouldn't say it was bad. It was a little complicated. So the flights right now, as you know, that there's so many delays because it's just so everyone's traveling. It's the summer, and so my bag was delayed, and then I have to make a report and then make sure I get compensated and all that. And then there was a lack of availability of hotels. So I kept changing hotel like almost every day. So that was kind of annoying, but it's not life changing or anything where it's like, oh man, like it sucks or whatever. But you have to adapt, especially on the ITF tour, because the conditions aren't like WTA where they set you up, you have this and that, and they take care of you. ITF is a little bit more of a grind because it's our developmental circuit, right? It's our AAA. So yeah, so then there's that situation, and then sometimes they give us rides, sometimes we have to take taxi or Uber or whatever it is. And so once I was done with the tournament, I was like, okay, I'm packing my bag because I didn't know if I would have a hotel the next day. So I just booked the next flight at like 6 in the morning, so I had to leave at 4 in the morning. So anyways, it's definitely like I'm a journey woman, right? It's like you always have to adapt to all these situations, and it's good and bad. I think it's developed me where I can like survive, you know. So, but I do appreciate all the challenges and all the experiences I go through because I'm gonna say if I didn't play the tour, then I wouldn't even know what I know now, and like learning different cultures and people and certain people, they act a certain way or it's great. Yeah.
No, thank you. That's really insightful. It's interesting. I think for people that obviously haven't been in your position, it's quite difficult to kind of really picture like how it goes, how it goes. And a lot of people will think, hold on, how come you're traveling without a coach? And I guess it's about the realistic situation, which obviously there's expenses, right? So I'm assuming, which is why. So have you had a coach before, like in tournaments? I'm assuming you have, right?
Yes. So like it depends where I go. So I bring like my family or my coach or like just somebody just because you just feel better because traveling alone, I used to do it and it was fine, right? But it's like you want always someone behind you to support you, even during your match or even the preparation. Maybe they see something that you don't, or like because when you're hitting, you're trying to figure stuff out, right? You're adjusting, but you're not really watching yourself. You can't. It's impossible, right? So then it's just nice to have that second opinion going, hey, maybe you should roll the ball more, or maybe you should bend your knees or move your legs more or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's always a plus, but of course it comes with a price, financial price.
No, of course. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess it must be quite difficult to, ideally, obviously, you want to coach all the time, but it's about how you can logistically make it work as well. But it's nice that at least you had someone to travel with you as well, which is nice. Then you weren't alone. But the hotel situation does sound like a bit of a nightmare, having to change every single day. It's probably not ideal, especially because it probably sounds really true, but I don't know what you think. But as like a player as well, like your sleep is probably really important, right? Like if it's a bed and like your back's a little bit achy because the bed's not great, then you kind of it can affect you, I guess, in the match. Is that what you find? I mean, I play tennis at a very, very like amateur level or like club level, but even with me, like I feel like if I don't get enough sleep and I'm playing the next day, I'm kind of like, I kind of just it plays on my mind a little bit. Is that the same for you guys as well?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people are like light sleepers, but I'm like a really heavy sleeper, so I kind of can sleep anywhere, besides I guess a floor, But for the most part, like I'm okay with sound and noise, the lights and stuff. But I do experience like beds that are just like, oh man, like who can sleep on this thing? But you just try your best and in the situation. It's like out of your control, So it's like, okay, I gotta stretch more. I gotta make sure I foam roll before I sleep or something. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The one in Canada you said it was hard courts as well. So do you have like a preference of surface?
Uh, I've grown up on hard court, so it should be my more natural like surface, but I've grown to enjoy clay a lot just because a lot of the tournaments in Europe and South America are on clay. So, I mean, I've paid my dues. Trust me, I've lost a lot on clay, but after a while you like get the hang of it and you're like, oh, this is actually fun, It's like you get a slide and you develop the point a little bit more versus hard court's more of an attacking kind of game and you're not going to grind as much, let's say. So I enjoy both. I've never played on grass, so I'm hoping very soon that it would happen. It will happen. So
Yeah, we'll see you here in the UK at some point, hopefully next year. Who knows? For qualies, you never know. Or even
exactly.
then there's Nottingham, Eastbourne, there's those tournaments here. So hopefully, hopefully maybe next year. But yeah, that's very interesting that you said about the clay as well, because you've grown up on hard courts. And everyone always thinks that, well, if the player's grown up on on these courts, then surely that's their favorite. But it's not always the case because the play style might not necessarily like translate into being like as successful on that surface. Would you say, like, how would you describe your play style?
I would say I would probably develop the point a little bit more. The attacking game, I think my body type isn't as natural. It doesn't come to me as naturally, but I definitely like um yeah, I think I'm more of a grinder. I would say that. I do enjoy the groundies a lot more and the eventually coming to the net and slicing and the top spin. I am more like that versus like big serve and one big shot return or whatever and that's it. That's the end of the point, which is it's kind of lame. Just kidding. It's not as fun.
Is that I feel like it's funny because I feel like everyone apart from the people that do it are like us lame. Like people like with Isner and like Apelka, they're just serve bots. But I feel like but if we're honestly speaking, if you could do it, would you do it? Is the
Oh,
question.
definitely.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah. I mean, those guys are over 6 feet tall, and you're like, okay, well, yeah, heck yeah, I'll do that. I'll pull that trigger anytime. I'll go for
yeah,
it. You don't have to move
exactly.
anymore. So, that's the advantage. But unfortunately, I'm 5'7", so I don't. My serve is not as big as theirs.
Yeah. Well, there's not many people that do have as big a size as those guys, but it's
Yeah.
so funny actually, just because everyone else will say, oh, what's the most boring match to watch, and fans will go, oh, Zapelka is nerve because it's just aces and the points are
Yeah.
so short, and it's like. But as a fan, if anyone who plays tennis, and I'd think, I'd love it if I can just serve ace after ace, then fantastic. Like, get myself out of trouble whenever I need to. But
Yeah.
it's probably not the best to watch, I guess, at times. You were talking actually about the groundies and how you like kind of, I guess, constructing the point and then finishing off. What was did you watch much of Wimbledon recently?
I'm more of a recap type of person. So like once the match is done, I'm like, okay, I'll check out a
Watch the
couple
highlights.
points here and there. Yeah, but I would say the one I really watched the longest, which is huge, is the men's final. Just because like Kyrgios, he's a fun guy to watch. A lot of people don't like him. And so, but at the end of the day, we're here for the tennis. So it was very interesting how he had to change it up, and he did really well in the first set. And then after that, Djokovic just came and dominated. So, I mean, that just shows like that guy's really good. Like both are really good.
Yeah,
You've
he
seen
is pretty
things.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's not bad,
he's
is
all
he?
right.
Not bad, is he? Not
Yeah.
bad, not bad. Yeah, I mean, I watched that, and actually, we do a bit of commentary on here as well on the channel. And Kyrgios, I think, had a really good tournament, and I
Totally.
think he actually played really well. But I think
Yeah.
after the first set, like Djokovic has started to really serve a bit more, which is pretty crazy because I know before he said, I can barely read it. And he said that after the match as well, in the first set, he couldn't read it. But he just somehow managed to pick up certain cues or kind of just guess the right way, I guess, at times. And it worked. And he got into the point. And I think Kyrgios, to be fair, apart from one or two blips where, I think he was like love 40, had break points, then 40 love up, and then got broken, which are two like really big moments. You kind of think, well, actually played really well. And for a first time at a Grand Slam final as well, a lot of people get straight setted by the goats like Casper Ruud did. And there's no disrespect in that, or no disrespect from my side by saying that. I think it's just pretty normal. Like that's what happens when you play against these guys on their favorite surfaces and stuff. Yeah, but it's funny because I was saying about Wimbledon as well because I don't know. Did you watch any of like Harmony Tan?
Yeah, she's a really close friend of mine.
I really.
Yeah, so a couple years
what did
ago.
you what do you think of her game? Because I feel like some people are saying, oh, it's like it's so different, right? And I'm all for like different styles of play. And someone said to me, look, on grass, like the slicing and dicing, the way she plays, like it's effective, and she played really well. Obviously, she beat Serena in the first round, which is a massive win. Yeah, okay, Serena's not obviously played a long while, but she still wasn't playing that badly. And then she beat like a home favorite here as well, Katie Bolter, who had just beaten Pliskova, who's obviously top 5 player. So, and she double breadsticked her, so she was playing really well. So yeah, I mean, you're good friends with her as well. But I'm assuming you're kind of a big advocate of like different styles. Why not?
Yeah, definitely. I give credit to any player that's out there because at the end of the day, I feel like, especially on the women's tour, anyone can win. You just have to show up. And so I think Harmony played super smart, and she had to do what she had to do. You know what I'm saying? It does, like, people are, yeah, they're going to judge you. They're going to talk crap about you, whatever. But at the end of the day, you beat Serena, you beat Bolter, you beat this person and that person. At the end of the day, that's all they're going to remember. They're not going to remember how you played. Right. And so at the end of the day, unfortunately, there's no ranking points. I was hoping for that, but she had a good payout, and hopefully this is like the confidence she needs to like jump and like be like that top 50 or top 10 or whatever it is, because everyone thinks that you have to play like super big to make it. And like, yes and no, right? But I think for Harmony, it works for her that she slices and drops and lobs. And so I give her so much credit and respect because she's also a great person. I mean, so that's what we need, more people like that, underdogs, and like inspirational stories, because it's the goats, right, of tennis. Sometimes you need a little change up to bring more interest into the sport. And so I'm very happy for Harmony. So she's great.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially like you were saying about Kyrgios, right? And I guess it's funny because you said, "Oh, I watched that," and probably because of Kyrgios, right? I'd assume because you're like, "Oh, I want to see how he gets on." I feel like a lot of people who are casual, not even casual fans, people that are not necessarily fans of tennis, they tuned in because they wanted to see what was going to happen.
Correct.
What was going to happen with him. And I feel like with Harmony Tanner, there's probably a lot of girls or men or women, to be fair, watching and thinking, "Oh, you know what? That's interesting. That's a
Yeah.
different way of playing and on the grass, and actually I can maybe pick up things here or there, and that's actually a really clever way of playing. When, especially if, for example, you're playing in someone who's got more power than you, like how can you adjust and I guess make it tricky for them? So it was really impressive to see actually as well, and applied herself well, which is I know great run, great run. I won't talk about the online stuff of Corpatch because that was quite funny, but won't go into that. The the doubles issue that was going on, which
Oh,
was
yeah.
quite funny, but we won't go into that. I think they kissed and made up after, so it's all good. In terms of like then the ITF, so you're just talking about your experience, and you're on the player panel as well. So what would you be able to give like an insight into, I guess, the player panel and like what you guys do on the player panel, and also the ITF as a whole? Like, how does it, I guess, fit in as a tennis organization to the other bodies as well?
Yeah, so like the ITF, it being on the panel, it's been very insightful just because as a player, you don't realize how much organization, financial backing, everything that it takes to have a tournament. And so, talking to them and talking to the staff and also working with the WTA, it's like it's been really, I would say we're developing a lot of things, changing a lot of things, and making it better, because I feel like the ITF is like the gateway for players that want to start this career and eventually end up in WTA. But in many cases, like the problem that we all complain about is the money, and like, we don't get paid as much, and the conditions, and then there's match fixing and et cetera, right? And so we're trying to fight against all that. So then it's like it's an enjoyable experience because we're grinding out there. We're away from home, from people that we care about and stuff like that. So we are making changes, especially in like the all inclusive tournaments. We're making sure that the players are being taken care of, because I feel like as a player myself, it's like we feel like second class citizens sometimes, and it sucks. And so that's why I'm like, I want to be part of that change, so then the future generations that do start, you know, creating, like starting this career, they have a better experience. Because I've been playing for, I started in 2014 on and off, right? And so I've seen a lot. And so I just don't want them to experience what I have, because I wanted a smooth, more transition into it from college or juniors or whatever it is. And so that's what we do on the panel. And yeah, that's what we do. Yeah.
No, thank you. That's
Yeah.
really helpful. If you don't mind, actually, because you're talking about like the conditions and also like experiences, I guess, on the ITF. Like, obviously, I need something that you're comfortable talking about. But would you be able to like describe like a? Doesn't you don't need to necessarily name a tournament if you don't want to like call out a tournament, but um, I guess a time when you have been at a tournament and the conditions were maybe one of the worst that you've experienced, and like you didn't have a particularly good time there, and why?
So let's say there's this one place that a lot of Americans go to because it's super close to us. And a lot of college players actually go during the summer because, it's convenient. And we just need to help them make it better, because sometimes the food isn't great there. We use different balls than what we're supposed to use. Um, like it's far from like a city, like the main, like the downtown. um it's yeah, I can't really say details and like thrash on them, because we're trying to help them, right? Because they want to improve as well, but they may not have that experience. So that's one experience. Another experience in Europe somewhere, like the hotel was not great. It was like it's kind of shady, you know, and so it's like, okay, well, I moved, which is fine. But, you know, if let's say accommodation is very important for the player's rest, right, and recovery. So it's like things, it's like, okay, I think we suggest that they should they make the official hotel not like a one-star hotel, more of like, okay, 3 or 4, you know, they have basic like things, you know, and it's not dirty. So I think those are the most important things that we're talking about, what we're discussing. But other than that, a lot of the tournaments in the US, Canada, like other parts of Europe, I've had really great experiences. um, the organization has been really well, like they've done super well. And the volunteers, I think that they make the difference because they try to make us feel like we're at home. So I think those are my personal experiences, without going to detail, that make it rewarding, because I have met a lot of great people. Oh my gosh, especially like before COVID, they provided housing, and it's like they're so nice to allow us to stay at their home, and you know, make us feel good. And so um yeah, and I still keep in contact with them, so it's like I have friends everywhere in the world. So yeah.
Oh, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. I think, yeah, the volunteers sound like they're amazing, and it's great to hear. In terms of, I guess, the best experiences that you had, would you be able
Hmm.
to touch upon those, and what's been good, I guess, because kind of give a contrary opinion to, I guess, some of the experiences that haven't been too great. But what's the better side of the ITF? Because you're talking about the volunteers, but in terms of like your experiences as well at tournaments.
Yeah, so like there's some supervisors where I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so great, like great human beings. Like there's one supervisor in Brazil, and he speaks like 3 different languages, and he's just a really outgoing guy. And you know, he makes things so simple, and then he'll maybe strike a conversation just to like he loves to talk. So it's like super fun, you know. It doesn't feel so serious, or like you feel like you're going to get screwed somewhere, you know. um Versus like well, in Canada too, even our supervisor there this week, he was like super great, super nice, and he was like, oh, order of play isn't out online, I'll send it to you, just email it to me. And then he like makes jokes fresh off the press and this and that. And so I think that the supervisors are like a huge contributor to how the tournament is run, because there are some supervisors that just man, they like, I just don't feel like they're not transparent, like they're hiding something, or you know. And so that's where we have to report to the ITF and see if we can like improve on that too, because maybe it's a miscommunication. I mean, everything is just so like, it's based on opinion, you know. And it's like, is it me? Like maybe it's in my day, like am I off? Did I read that wrong, you know? And so I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
But
it's like bedside manner. Basically, he's not always there.
yeah, exactly. Did I wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Like I remember one time in Sri Lanka, like the poor guy felt so bad. The supervisor tried his best, but it kept raining every day. And so he eventually had to go to the hospital, and then they replaced him. But I was like, oh my gosh, like, and he was trying his best, you know. It's like everyone does. I know that. So
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
That's understandable. That's understandable. Yeah, it's crazy. What would you say in terms of like you were saying that you kind of scope out, like when you're in the hotel or like in the kind of
Mhm.
in the players area, you kind of scope out certain players, and do you think there's are there some players that will like potentially try and like almost intimidate you, like, in obviously not like a threatening way, but as in like, they might kind of just go in front of you, or kind of eye you up, and has that happened like in the past? And does that have like a mental effect on like how matches can go, especially if like you're playing against them?
Yeah, it's especially on the women's tour. I don't know why they think that that's gonna give them the advantage. I'm like, and like I think about it, I'm like, I understand because sometimes like tennis is a very selfish sport, right?
Hmm.
It's one winner, one loser, right? So you try to have an advantage over anybody and you do anything. And I get that because one loss, that's the end of your week. And so are you going to pay for your hotel next week? Are you going to pay for your flight? Like, and so, or they're just young and then they think that that's going to affect me or other players. And it does actually. It does give them a little advantage, a little edge. But for the older folks like me, I'm like, okay, all right, relax. Like, it's not gonna change anything. Like, I've been around the block. You know, you're not intimidating me. It's okay. I'm still doing my thing, and I'm still gonna try to beat you. You know, so.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And how much would you say in terms of tennis generally, like when you're playing, as a percentage, how much would you say is the mental aspect?
Oh my gosh, it's huge. It's like the biggest part, I think. Unless you're playing the lower tier tournaments,
Hmm.
you do see a bunch of juniors where they're kind of like feeling it out, or it's a good opportunity. And so, obviously, the technical side isn't. There's some flaws, and you kind of smell like blood. It's like, okay, the bad technique in the forehand, you're gonna attack it, you know. But when you play higher, everyone knows how to hit a tennis ball. So at the end of the day, it's like a chess game. You have to think, how am I going to solve this problem and how am I going to win? You know, how am I going to beat them? And so going back to Harmony, you know, she's a smart player. She's a chess player. She's not going to hit the crap out of it, but she's going to slice it until you feel super uncomfortable, right?
Mm,
So it's the mental side and the strategic side of tennis that's going to give you the wins.
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and do you take it like one point at a time, or is it more of a case of do you sometimes you'll say, oh, actually, oh, I've got the break, I'm not 2-1 up. Oh, actually, yeah, it's going to be 3-1 before you even start your service game. And like to say to yourself, oh, actually, no, it's going to be 3-1. I can form myself into there. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to speak,
Mhm.
kind of like think about it into existence, or is it no, take it one point at a time? How do you think about it when you play? When you play?
Um, I think that I kind of think ahead. I think I do best like that because if I do a point at a time, that's when I'm losing because I'm like, okay, let's see how long I can stretch this. Maybe they'll like start like losing it, you know, mental break here. Maybe they go on vacation in their brain. I don't know. But you know, when I'm really determined to win, it's like, okay, you know, it's 2-all, or it's like I need to go to 3-2, 4-2 to get ahead, and I need to do this, and I need to break her serve, and you know, she has a big serve, so this is super important, and I need a hold serve because if I don't, I'm screwed, and this and that. So I think that I kind of plan ahead. That's
Hmm.
what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because like people got different like outlooks into it. Some people always say, "Oh, no, take it one point at a time." Like they always say, and there's others say, "Actually, no." Like look ahead, like you're saying, and try and visualize, I guess, like how you think you're gonna win, the game. Also, when you take like a service game as well, for example, or a turn game, do you think again, like, are you thinking, okay, well, this is where I'm going to serve point one, point two, point three, or is it again like, okay, that's just happened after point one. This is what I should do. Point two, like I'm gonna hit a serve out wide and come to the net, for example, or is it? Oh, actually, I just think about it as and when, or do you already have like a game plan beforehand to try and implement?
So when you enter the match, obviously you have a game plan. And
Mm,
then I make challenges. I have to adapt because let's say her forehand that day is like out of her mind, you know, and then the other day it was trash and during practice or something. So you're like, oh crap, you know, like, okay, I got to attack here. And then like on the serve, you have to keep them thinking because the thing is, if you keep playing the same patterns, they're going to
yeah.
catch on. And so that's where you're like, okay, I have to change it up. So I have to keep her thinking. So that's where the mental game and the strategic side of it, that's what I recommend to the juniors, you know, especially that want to play high level. It's like you can have the ugliest stroke. I have seen it and they beat people, you
Mm,
know, and so because they know what to do, they know where to place the ball. So,
yeah.
yeah.
No, their strengths, right? And they just utilize it. And then I guess they're honest with themselves about what they're good at, what they're bad at, and they basically they make the most out of it, right? It's like I think it goes down as I guess it's even more prominent at like a local club level because obviously people are very limited. A lot of people are very limited, but they know exactly what they're good at, what they're bad at, and they stick to what they're good at, and that's it. They don't try and venture outside of that, right? And it'll work for the most part against a certain level, and then obviously they can't kind of go beyond that. But yeah, it's very interesting on the serving aspect. Actually, when you said about keeping people thinking, I've noticed, and I think a lot of people have mentioned this as well, like pundits, that they say that for women they find that actually it's a lot harder to hit a kick serve. Do you find that personally, and do you know why it might be harder than say for men?
I think that's a physical thing compared to like men. So the men's game, there's so much more spin, right? And the women's game, it's so much more flatter. Not much underspin, but well, I guess so. But you won't see as much topspin. It won't have as much kick. So it's the same idea with the kick serve. I think we do have a little bit of issues because we're not as strong as men physically, and that's just how it is. And so that's why you're going to see more slice, more flat balls. So that's my point of view, because I don't, if I do kick it, like it's scary because it's like, okay, is it too slow where they're gonna slap me, or are they gonna mess up and hit the back fence? It's like it really depends on the player that you're playing. So I mean, I wouldn't say I can kick like you know, your kick serve's probably better than mine, but you know, since I'm not playing a guy and I'm playing all women, it's acceptable, right? But if I played you and I kick it, probably there's a chance that you're gonna make a winner, you know? And so that's my point.
Oh, that's interesting. No, it's really interesting actually, just because like on the men's side, especially on like clay, for example, it's just such a like big component of the game. But then on the women's side, I guess really like Shriontek hits a really good kick serve. But apart from, there's not many, to be fair, that can hit like a really good. It might be a very, very, as you said, like a very slow second serve kick serve, but there's no one that hits it, you know, at like a reasonable speed. So there's not many anyway. So it's really interesting to kind of see the differences in the two games. And obviously it's the same sport, but there are different like nuances to both. You feel, and it's interesting to see. Do you want to talk a little bit about the San Diego tennis and being on the board of there and what you guys do?
Yes, definitely. So I guess we're like the ITF panel of San Diego tennis, right? So we focus more on adult tournaments and adult leagues and giving back to the community and things like that. Juniors we don't touch because that's more of USTA SoCal. So what we do is we make sure we have X amount of tournaments, opportunities for adults, make sure that they have like social events, and like we have this like one year, it's like a annual event. There you go. Annual event where we give back to the community. Everything is free. They have free clinics, exhibition, they watch that, and then there's like free raffles. So we want to promote tennis, and we want like the community to like enjoy the sport, right? So we're giving back. And so I'm in charge of, I think I'm in charge of the marketing and promotions, which is big, and also I'm in other committees as well. But for the most part, that's what we do, and it's been really beneficial because actually we have an ATP and a WTA event coming up, and like I know the WTA is coming in October at the Barnes Tennis Center. And so, because last year we brought an ATP, and so the director has been amazing, like for trying to bring that in and bring tourism to San Diego and stuff. So, you know, it's fun, especially like, you know, it's like a volunteer work kind of thing. And I do want to give back from all my experiences as a junior player and a pro player. And, you know, I'm older, so I'm an adult, right? So I like working with the adults about it because, you know, some of them don't play tennis, or, you know, they used to, but it was like they were not pro players, you know. So giving my feedback about singles and things like that. So that it's been fun. I really enjoy the ITF panel. I really enjoy being part of the San Diego tennis, and I hope to continue to do it for future years. So
No, it's really commendable. Like I was checking out the page and obviously what you guys do, and obviously it's a not-for-profit organization, as like you've alluded to as well. So yeah, I mean, if anyone's watching this in San Diego, then I guess check it out. If you're
yeah.
interested in getting involved. But yeah, like it's amazing actually, and you obviously involved in a lot of different things. So that's incredible. And I guess before we get on to the portion where I'll ask you some kind of more quick fire questions, do you want to talk a little bit about your bubble tea as well?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. So during COVID, you're stuck in your room and you're like, okay, what can I do, as a little project and stuff. So I ended up creating this like bubble tea kit that you take at home and you make it, right? Because at the time everything was closed off. Um no one could socialize and things like that. So this was something that, parents and kids could do, or siblings at home, where it's like enjoyable, cooking together. And so, in the meantime, so right now, obviously everything is open. So, but I still have like a bunch of orders. Business is pretty good. And so that's helping me fund a little bit of my tennis. And so that's helping a lot. And so hopefully in the future, I'll open a little bubble tea shop or something. So that would be fun, a little cafe, because I do enjoy creating these drinks and making it fun. And, obviously, hopefully not so let's say unhealthy because it's a lot of sugar, but there's so many alternatives now with oat milk and um, agave syrup and all that. So I do love to experiment with those things on my spare time. And so I do enjoy it very much. And there's every day, it's like, okay, so where I live, there's a bunch of bubble tea shops. And so they always come up with something different. And it's like so interesting. And then when I go out and play, I do stop by and I'm like, okay, let me try this one here. Maybe a drink I've never tried. And so I'm like, well, this is brilliant. Maybe I can, apply it to my business or like in the future or something. So I do enjoy drinking boba a lot.
No, that sounds really cool. Yeah, I mean it's innovative, right? And who knows, maybe you can partner up with some of the events and have a little pop up. Should be quite cool.
Exactly.
Exactly. When you're not playing, you can be like, oh, just here's some bubble tea. Here you go. Just sort it out. No, that's really cool. That's really cool. If you don't mind, we're going to do quickly like a little quick fire questions. So it'll be pretty random.
Okay.
But obviously, if there's any that you don't want to answer, just let me know. But I think they'll be pretty chilled out. So I guess first one is singles or doubles.
That's tough. I really like both. Okay, so I think, oh man, I had a lot of fun in doubles too. It depends on who I'm playing with, because when I play with friends and we really click, oh, we're unstoppable. But when you play with someone you don't know and it's like a different type of game style, you're like, oh dang, this is kind of like pulling teeth. But then singles is just you, so it's like more frustrating because you're like, dang, like this is all under me, like it's my control. Why am I not hitting this serve or whatever? So I I like both, not gonna lie. I like both. Yeah.
Not a good start.
Yeah,
We
no,
can't
you're
decide.
sorry.
Forehand or backhand?
Forehand, for sure. Yeah,
For
I
sure.
love to pull that trigger.
That was a very definitive answer. I like it.
Oh yeah. Well, backhand, it's like it's good. Like, but what's gonna make the difference? Forehand.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Federer, Djokovic, or Nadal?
Oh boy, my boy Fed. I mean, he's like, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. He's like an angel from above. Like the way he plays, oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. Even when he hits, there's no facial expression per se. It's like he's so calm. And you have Nadal and Djokovic, where they're really good, great athletes, great people, whatever it is. But Federer has that extra thing where you're like, you're not from here. You're not from this world.
Who's the goat on the women's side?
The women's side, oh boy, that's a tough one. Whenever I get that question, I don't know how to answer, just because it's like a lot of people. I mean, there's so many champions and so many great players. Like right now, like Swatek, right? She's doing amazing, like done so great, Barty, she's retired, but she's amazing too. And she's a great person. But I will, not that I know her game, but because my name comes from her name, I'm going to give it to Gabriella Sabatini, because that is why my name is Sabastiani.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Like,
Yeah.
and who's your favorite player?
Uh, Women's side? Shoot. I don't
Well,
know.
yeah, well, both. Like growing up, who would you watch the most?
When growing up, I can't say I have a favorite player because I always think that, okay, who do you want to play like? I'm like myself. I want to play like me, And so, because everybody has their strength and their weakness, and you want to watch that and see what you can gain from that, more their strength, right? And so you can apply it to your game. So that's why I can never answer that question because I'm like, me. I want to play like me. So.
Okay, interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I guess when you're watching and I guess you're analyzing people, see don't have anyone specific. You're like, well, that style is amazing. Like, that's kind of like what I like watching, which is understandable. We can go into well, I'll kind of mix it up with some more questions that aren't tennis related.
Okay.
Pepsi or Coke?
Oh, Coca-Cola. Come on now. But the normal one, none of that diet, none of that Splenda stuff. No. Regular Coke.
Fair enough. A holiday, would you go city break or on the beach?
Oh, no, city. Because I live by the beach and not too close, but it's like, I get enough sun. The sand is great, fine. And the water, okay, I don't know what's in the ocean, but I surf occasionally. So the city, it's just like there's so much food. Like the food is like the number one thing for me. So city for sure.
Okay. Favorite country to play in?
Favorite country to play in? Gosh. I would say I really enjoy Brazil a lot, not gonna lie, because the food is amazing. It's clay and people are so nice. Like even like European countries are super nice. Like everywhere I go is nice. But I do enjoy going to places that I've never been just because you learn so much. Like when I went to Sri Lanka, I was like, whoa, this is new. Or Morocco, amazing country. Love it, love it. Spain is cool, but they love to take siestas. So it's kind of annoying because everything's closed. You're like,
Yeah.
dang. Canada is like, it's really nice. It's like the US. So, it's not different. Australia, people are amazing too, but then, it's kind of bright, so it hurts my eyes. So, but basically anywhere that's different and I get to learn. That's the key here.
Okay. Interesting. Favorite doubles player to play with?
Oh gosh, it's so difficult, man. Because the people I play with, I enjoy all of them. I really do. But the ones that really stand out is like the most recent titles I've had with my friend from Czech. She's like over 6 feet tall, so I look like a monkey. She's like a little giraffe or big giraffe, and so she has that big serve and everything just like Isner. And then I'm like, I'm poaching, I'm all over the net. So we do click. And then I have another friend from Venezuela that she's a spicy girl, her personality is like all over the place, like, and it's fun though. And then I have my best friend, which is like, we know each other like from the back of our brain, so then we click all the time too. And I won national doubles with her. So everyone I play with, it's great. It's really great. Yeah.
Very diplomatic answer. I can tell you on the ITF board.
Yeah, because you can't just like single out somebody. Then it's like, oh man, like I'm not gonna hear the end of it. I'm not.
That's fair. And if I'll say to you who's going to win the US Open on the men's and women's side, who would you say?
Dang, you put me on that, huh? I don't know. Well, I don't even know who's playing. I'm assuming because, like, okay, let's say Djokovic isn't playing because of his vaccination status, right? So who's actually playing? Because obviously, Fed's not playing. Zverev is not playing. I don't know if Nadal's playing. I'm not sure about him.
Yeah,
So
I think he will be playing.
Oh, he will be playing? Dang. Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. And then the women's side, it's always a coin toss. It's just whoever shows up. I mean, last year's was amazing, the two young girls. But it's like, are they going to do it again? I really hope so. I hope the best for them. But at the end of the day, I think anyone can take it. So I can't even answer that question. I mean, what's your prediction? What do you think?
I don't know. I haven't even thought about it, to be honest with you. I think on the women's side, I think Swiatek's the favorite.
Yep.
But she was the favorite at Wimbledon as well. I think the women's side is really open. On the men's side, I think it's between Nadal and Medvedev. I think
sure.
if Djokovic isn't going to be playing, I think it'll be between those two. I'm not sure. I think Zverev is trying to be fit for the US, but I don't think he's going to be fit in time. I think he had an injury that I had a similar injury to his, and I was out for a long time. But obviously, he's got a lot more of advanced technology and a team behind him to get him back quicker. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I'd say on the men's side that, but I don't know, it's difficult. Alcaraz is like a wild card as well. You just
Yeah,
don't
and then
know what he's
Nadal, you
going
don't know if
to
he's
do.
gonna be healthy because he pulled out in the semis. It's like
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, but I guess the good thing is that it's not the foot, it's the abdomen, so that should heal. I think he's already hitting, and the foot seems to be fine. That's been like the biggest issue. So if that's fine, then I guess, and anyone can get injured, I guess, during a tournament. So yeah, on the women's side, though, I don't know. I really like Ons Jabeur,
oh
so I'd
yeah,
like her to win, but it depends really on how she recovers from the Wimbledon final because that was probably quite disappointing because she was the favourite going into it, I think. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. That's probably my picks. I always do my bracket every tournament, every Grand Slam, and I do like a review show, and everyone's always like, "Why you picked this? Why you picked that?" And I was just like, "Oh, just because." And I actually picked Kyrgios to make the semi-finals, so I was quite happy they made the final because a lot of people were like, "How could you pick him in the semi-finals? He's never going to go that far." And eventually he did. He got a bit fortunate with like Berrettini pulling out and obviously Cilic and stuff, but still. I was like, still beat some really good players, like Tsitsipas, for example. So yeah. And in terms of like players that you've hit with or played with, who would you say is the best?
that I've hit or played with. Oh boy, man, shoot, that's a good question. Well, I've hit with Enda Shibahara, so she's a close friend of mine. She's from LA, but she's a dub special. So she was playing in Saskatoon. So it's like you see these players and you're like, what are you doing here? Like, why why are you in the 25K in Canada in the middle of nowhere? Or like you play these 60Ks and like you hit. I've hit with a couple players that that has like been playing slams and stuff like that, and so I don't have a favorite, to be honest, especially for practice, because you're just like kind of focusing on yourself. You're like, I need to get my ball in, I need to make sure I'm ready or whatever. So but yeah, you're always surrounded by it. Like Andrescu, she was here in Rancho Santa Fe. It was a 25K. She won that year, and that's funny because I didn't even warm her up. She asked me to warm her up, and I didn't do it because I was like, "That's out of my way," and this and that. So, yeah, I don't have really a favorite to like hit with and stuff. It's just whoever's there, and you guys get the job done. So,
Yeah, yeah, not necessarily a favorite, I guess. More someone who you've kind of hit or played with, and you think, oh, you know what, they're really good. Like, they're the best player I've played with, rather than your favorite, I guess. But someone who you've played against and you thought, yeah, they're the real deal.
yeah, I think everyone is. And this is not being political. I'm literally telling you, everyone hits like super well. And so, like, especially like generalizing it, a lot of the like Asian players, like the Japanese players, oh my gosh, they look small, but they're fast as heck. And they like angle the ball super well. So those are actually good people to hit with just because they're not going to miss.
Yeah.
No, for sure, right? Versus like Europeans where they're gonna, or more American, they're gonna hit the crap out of it. And you're like, okay, that's 2 balls. Okay, cool, that's it. So that, yeah, I can't think of a name on top of my head though. So
Okay, well then let's rephrase. Is there a player out there that you would like to hit with? If you could have one player that you could hit with or play against, who would it be? It could be past or present.
dang. I would say, wow, you really put me on the spot. That's one answer I don't even know how to answer. Or one question I don't know how to answer. Someone that I could play. I think I would want to play against I think Serena, just because I actually want to see how like strong her ball is and how clean her strokes are. Like, yeah, people say that she's not very mobile, but the thing is, the girl is like so strong that she doesn't even need to like be super fast. She's fast with like 2 strides across the court.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it looks slow on the screen, but it's I know that it is super fast and super hard. So I want to see how big her serve is and things like that. So I would say Serena. Yeah.
Nice.
Or maybe Osaka. I want to see how big this thing is, you know?
Yeah, it's like a groundies. Yeah, how big are they? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She's it's a big, yeah, definitely, it's a big ball for sure. No, thanks for being on, Sabi. I really appreciate it. Is there anything you want to touch upon before we wrap up?
Yeah. Just basically kind of like a food for thought type of thing, where I think anyone that's watching that has like a junior or a child or something that wants to play tennis, I think especially women, there is so much opportunity out there for us, and I feel like you have to keep going. If you feel like they're not good enough, or maybe they're going through a rut or something, that you have to just keep persevering, and you're eventually going to actually achieve that goal. So especially towards like the college bound juniors, it's like, oh, are they good enough? Like, are we good enough? And this and that. And it's like, yes, absolutely. And so I just want to tell the players out there, just keep going, keep trying to achieve that goal. Don't give up. I don't care whoever tells you otherwise, like you have no hope and this and that. It's like, no, there is always an opportunity. As long as you put the time, the effort, the sacrifice, you're going to do it. You're going to achieve it. And so, because my whole life, I'm like a first generation athlete, right? In the sense of like playing tennis and stuff. But besides my brother, I look up to him. So he was another reason why, I kept going, because I love playing tennis with him at the time. So, but it's like everyone said that I was not capable of achieving what I did in juniors, and getting a tennis scholarship at a university. And so, because university is expensive in the U.S., but I think that if I listened to those people, I wouldn't be in the situation that I am in now. Like, I wouldn't think that I'd be playing pro events, because realistically, they'll be like, you'll never make it and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, but you never know until you try, right? You have to take the risk. You only live once, right? So if that's what you want to do, commit 100%. So that's my food for thought for the public. So.
No, that's really well said. Agreed on all accounts. Yeah, definitely. I think can't disagree with anything you said. But yeah, thanks again for being on, Sabi. Really appreciate it, and yeah, maybe we'll catch up again sometime. But yeah, I'll put your socials as well in the link of the description of the video. But thank you for being on as well. It was a great chat, and yeah, hopefully, I'm sure you've got some very interesting ITF discussions coming up soon as well, I would imagine. Actually, finally, I've got to ask you. Finally, sorry, last question. I don't know why I just forgot to ask you this. Was player coaching? What's your view on it?
Player coaching during the match? I don't like it, just because I feel like that takes away from the game. I mean, I know a lot of sports have that, and I get that because it's a team sport or whatever it is. But I think tennis, the beauty of it is, if you win, it is the most satisfying thing, because you did it all on your own, because you solved the challenge, the puzzle, the problem. And so that's why I don't agree with it, but I know some people do want it. So, but that's what I think. I don't know what you think about it.
No, I agree.
Are you for it, or?
No. I think what makes it unique, and as you said, like, it's an individual sport. Of course, you have a team behind you, but I think the whole premise of like being an individual sport is that you're supposed to be able to solve what's out there on court without someone, and obviously they can cheer you on, etc. But I think it kind of takes away a little bit of the like kind of individual tennis IQ that you need at the moment, to actually then solve things, and people can then almost spoon feed it to you. And I get that, fine. It's still, you still need to be able to be out there and execute it. But as we were talking about, the mental aspect and the strategic aspect is really important. So I feel like you need to be able to, especially if, say, you've got a strategy and you go out onto court and then someone, as you said, is like playing differently, then it's okay, well, what's your adaptability like? Can you change your game? Can you change tactics? And then it's a real test of your like ability to do that. But if there's coaches, then they'll just tell you, do this, do that. You can. They're clearly, the strategy's not working. Change it here. So, like I get partly why they're doing it, because I think there's been a lot of coaching going on anyway. Without, obviously, it's not technically not allowed, but I think it's been going on anyway with a few players. But I think it would. And part of me almost thinks they're doing it because there's a Netflix documentary coming out as well for tennis, so it brings a lot more drama to it. But we'll see, I guess, because they're going to trial at the US Open for. I know on the women's it's already in place and has been for a few months, but for the men's, obviously they're going to be trialing at the US Open as well. So both tours will have it then. So I guess we'll see what it's like. But I know some players are really happy about it. Others are not particularly. So we'll see, I guess. We'll see how it goes. I'm interested to see how much of an effect it does have on certain players, and whether it's more of a placebo effect there on some, I'd imagine, rather than actually helping that much. But yeah, thanks again. I really appreciate it. Guys, as well, if you haven't done so already, please remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on a podcast platform as well, leave us a rating or review. Do appreciate it. It'll be up on there. Sabi, I'll send you the link as well to it. So if you want to share it, then obviously feel free to. But thank you again for being on.
No, thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to the next interview or session or hangout.
No, definitely. Yeah, we'll definitely speak again. Thanks so much.
Thank you.